Hey over there, Joy Lunchbox.
I'm Joy Nightingale.
And today we've landed right here in West Windsor, New Jersey. Now we're here to tell you a little story about an event that didn't happen here on October 30th, 1938, but many people around the world believed. We're here to tell you because on that night, October 30th, 1938, Orson Welles did a radio broadcast of a playwright version of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Broadcasted on CBS radio. We see a spaceship behind us. And it was just a fictional tale, but a lot of people didn't realize that. And it caused mass hysteria, supposedly. And we're here in West Windsor because in the story that Orson Welles told, the events took place in a town called Grover's Mill. Grover's Mill is a little village here in West Windsor, New Jersey. And as you can see from behind us, coming out of Joy's head, there's an alien spaceship, more specifically Martian. We're gonna tell you that story. We're gonna walk around town. There are some things to see that embrace this interesting legacy. Hope you like this kind of thing. If you do, you should like this video. Subscribe to our channel. We're always going around the world, the country, looking for weird roadside attractions, interesting tales. And comment down below, where were you abducted by an alien? All right, it's time to do this. Step right up. Let's go for this ride. Starting at this scrap metal part, you might think this is alien, but this is more of what the ships would have been looked like. It was more the ship with these weird legs that helped when it landed, shooting heat rays out, lighting things on fire. Figured a mothership is a good spot to start a video, and then we'll go off. It's a picture, hanging out with your family, the night before Halloween. It was late, it was 8 o'clock. You might have, that's a late dinner, but maybe you're eating, maybe you're having dessert. Evening tea, who knows? And back then, we're talking before there was TV, people gathered around the radio, listen to your broadcast, and you put on the radio, and here is Orson Welles doing H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. It did start by saying this is the Mercury Theater Group, and there was a disclaimer. But the way the thing went was as if it was a real news. They were bringing you music from a ballroom in New York City, and it would cut in, we interrupt this program, and it would lead to, first a weather report over Nova Scotia, then an astronomer at an observatory in Princeton, until alien contact was made. The Martians were there in Grover's Mill. Now, a lot of people might have flipped the channel to him. Didn't start in his program, so they might have missed that warning. So people thought,
oh my God!
Yeah, the police in New Jersey have been set on fire. These Martians are attacking Trenton. They're coming to New York City, and people took this as real. And I don't know if it was blown out of proportion of how many people took it as real. They say it could have been 1 million people were flipping out. I don't know if that number is true or not. We'll go over why it was a little exaggerated in media the day after. But I do have to say, my Nana, my mom's mom, says she remembers listening to that broadcast on CBS radio, and as a little kid, being afraid the Martians were coming, the world was coming to an end. It didn't. We're still here. Don't worry about it. Spoiler. All right, let's go. You might be asking yourself, what do we have to look forward to, Joe? Well, we just saw a spaceship. I think there's a local business that embraces this history. We're going to show you the old mill itself, where the Martians landed. And then, this town does embrace it. They did put a monument up for the Martian landing. We're gonna go check out that monument and walk around a little lake that supposedly there's some plaques talking about it. Should be a fun day. And now, one business here in West Windsor really embraces this Orson Welles' War of the Worlds history. This little coffee shop behind us. I love when things that a town has a quirk about it, some weird history, and sometimes the towns just wash over it. They don't want tourists, but then you'll get a good business that embraces it and uses it for the theming of their spot. So we're going to check out this little coffee house. Because right here at Grover's Mill, Coffee Roasting Company, Coffee and Tea House.
So they saved the building, right?
As soon as you walk in, we get greeted by tons of Martians, movie posters from Tom Cruise's version of War of the Worlds. We were talking to the owner of the coffee shop, really nice guy. I like spots that embrace the history. They actually have his own little coffee workshop, talks about the history of this shop, history of the coffee, a little bit of where its name came from. And of course, H.G. Wells wrote War of the Worlds, and then Orson Welles adopted it for that radio broadcast. Coffee roastery monster creature. Looks like there's a smoke machine attached to it. Oh, that's great. I drink coffee for your protection. Do you turn into a Martian, Joy? See some amazing t-shirts. Grover's Mill Company. We see the alien ship coming down, attacking it, a water tower in the background. We're gonna go check out all that stuff too. This is where a fictional story took place. But it's interesting that it's actually based on a real spot and how it affected the real spot itself. Even the coffee is themed. Orson's Express Dark Roast. And an Invasion Roast. Wherever you look, tons of little aliens popping out. This one's got himself a nice beverage, some spaceships. And I like in the War of the Worlds, the alien ship looked like this with these weird long legs and stuff. Not what you would typically think a UFO would look like. Little aliens, I'm wondering, this spaceship, the aliens shot jet streams of fire at the police force. Do you think the beans in the front are roasted from that jet force of fire, and that's why the beans behind the ship aren't roasted? And besides being filled with War of the Worlds history, all the coffee at this coffee house is roasted in-house. Look at this. Beans from all around the world. And heading to the back, we have tons and tons of info on the Martians' attack. Pre-war, before Spielberg. Wells scared us silly. How the Martians conquered New Jersey. And here we see the Martians' war machine, the heat ray which lit things on fire. Have a poster of Grover's Mill celebrating the 50th anniversary of that broadcast on October 30th, 1938. We actually have an apology letter Orson Welles sent out through his Mercury Theater, apologizing if his radio broadcast caused any apprehension or discomfort. And then below we have the city of Trenton, a complaint to avoid a reoccurrence of the very grave and serious situation that developed in this community last night. Can't cause any more problems, Orson Welles. And because of that radio broadcast, the newspaper said there was panic, craziness around the world now. A lot of people don't know if that's true or not. At that time, we just were coming out of the Great Depression. Hitler was taking over Germany, so the thought of war was on everyone's mind. And radio was becoming the new thing. So a lot of advertising was being done on radio, not in local print anymore. And now, local print didn't like that. So after this incident, local print sort of sensationalized incidents of this panic to try to scare advertisers off radio and back to them, because they were more real news. None of this fake stuff about aliens. And they actually have in the coffee shop the New York Post, the newspaper from October 31st, 1938, the day after it. Radio war panic brings inquiry. U.S. to scan broadcast scripts. Mars attacks brings wave of hysteria. Ooh no, wave of hysteria. And here we see Orson Welles reads the latest press notices. Oh no, oh no. Some framed photos of what the actual little village of Grover's Mill looked like. I mean, still looks like this photo was shot in 1981. Figure that incidents happened over the radio in 1938. But here is the barn. Here's Grover's actual mill, the pond. We have a photo from 1938 of William Dock, 76, stands ready with his trusty shotgun to order for attacks of any strange creatures from Mars. So some people definitely were like, well, we're not gonna mess around. We'll just make sure it's okay.
Basically, it was saying that there was a Charlie McCarthy show beforehand, and it ended about like 8:20, where Orson Welles show began at like 8 o'clock. So this way, when people ended and they're sitting there trying to dial it, they just go and get onto Orson's thing without hearing the disclaimer beforehand.
That's because Orson didn't put this on just to shock. There was a warning at the start, in the middle, at the end, that this was just a narration, their take on H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, but those people that were tuning into other stuff, switching in, would have missed that warning at the start. Even the bathroom gets themed. All species bathrooms. See aliens? Alien masks. Mars attacks. The bathroom itself has more theming. Here's a good picture of the Martian ship landing. And it's funny how they chose Orson Welles and the people that made that broadcast, adapted the book. You were like, Grover's Mill. Why Grover's Mill? That's not what it is in the book. Well, one of the writers, Howard Koch, he just stopped to get gas somewhere, and they had a map of New Jersey. Right around here, Grover's Mill. That sounds good. And he just pointed to a map randomly and found a town. And of course, alien-themed cookies. You can't go wrong. You need to have some food to go with the theming around the spot. Looking at the different coffees they can make. Oh yeah, you know what Joy's getting. Under that seasonal section, a green alien. How do you not come to a War of the Worlds themed coffee shop and not get the green alien latte?
So yes, off-white mocha.
Making the green alien for us.
That pistachio.
So it's white chocolate and pistachio. Makes you a green alien.
And so we put our espresso shots. Green alien with the real pistachio on top.
One of the biggest things to show this theming is this beautiful painting by Robert Hummel, a local artist. We see the ship attacking the mill, see those heat rays lighting the mill on fire. As other ships start coming into the atmosphere, we can see a water tower behind. I like this jack-o'-lantern looks very stunned at what's happening.
Wow, that's out of this world.
I'm excited. I got a cookie. Joy's all hydrated. Now on to the scene of the crime, Grover's Mill. No alien is going to set me on fire. I'm gonna eat their heads. Wah!
How is it anyways?
This is an amazing butter cookie. The frosting is really good. Nothing is too sweet. Great flavor. I like it. We hopped in our ship, fueled by caffeine, made it to the town of Grover's Mill. Now, obviously, what Orson Welles broadcast on the radio wasn't happening. It was just a story, entertain people the night for Halloween. But imagine living in this town when that happened. Because here would have been the mill, opened in late 18th century, and over there is the Grover's Mill barn. We just saw the painting of the ship attacking it in the coffee shop the man with the shotgun, he would have literally been standing at this building with his shotgun, ready to shoot those Martians. And you think some of those locals might have actually thought they saw Martians, because they came out, figured it was late at night, loaded up their guns. And the myth, the legend, is this water tower found next to the mill. Late at night, they saw and went, that has to be it. That sounds like the ship that they were describing, those long legs and that. And people shot their guns at that water tower. People might have thought that legend came of good old Doc over there holding his shotgun. And then the legend grew bigger and bigger that they were shooting at that water tower. I think if there was someone shooting at the water tower, there would have been records of like water falling down. People had to repair a water tower. Whoa. Can't find any of those records. And I have to be honest, like, yes, those Martians, those weren't friendly aliens. The police came, they waved a little white flag when they saw them at this mill landed, and the Martians incinerated them with their heat ray. But normal, if it was a Martian and you're getting abducted into the spaceship, right? I want you to think about this. Okay. If you get abducted into a spaceship, you get probed by that alien once. You shoot at a water tower and accidentally kill someone and go to jail, you get probed every night. Be careful what you wish for. It is a strange looking water tower. And this would have been what they described in the book. It would have been Wilmoth's barn that the spaceships landed at, attacked, first contact. Why did it have to be mean, Joy? Why? We just wanted to wave our flag and meet them. They knew. They watched us for a while. They were like, those humans, we ain't messing around.
Burn them to the ground.
Burn! But who knows? Maybe that water tower is an alien spaceship. Dun-dun-dun. No, it's not. It's an old water tower. It is really cool that we're talking. This event is almost 90 years ago, 86 years ago now, and the water tower is still standing. But these people came out, supposedly shot their shotguns at, and it's right there, the water tower. We saved the best location for last, though. This town does have a monument for Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. Let's go take a look at that monument. Made our way to Vaness Park. This park is along this nice little lake, and along the trail we actually have some plaques talking about War of the Worlds, and makes me even happier. It's an Eagle Scout project. I always shout out whoever the Eagle Scout is, Danny Fitzpatrick, because being a fellow Eagle Scout, I know how hard that is, and it's a cool accomplishment.
Lunchbox, tell me a story.
In 1938, there were no televisions or cell phones. Really? No cell phones? How did people talk to each other?
Oh boy.
People gathered around their radios for news and entertainment. America was just coming out of the Great Depression. Adolf Hitler had recently ascended into power in Germany. A threat of another world war had Americans on edge. Ooh. The War of the World was a science fiction novel by H.G. Wells that was adapted by the Mercury Group on CBS Radio at 8 p.m. on October 30th, 1938. The production was directed and narrated by Orson Welles, who also voiced many of the characters. When Wells and Howard Koch adapted the book for a radio play, the script was written and performed so it would sound like a news broadcast about an alien invasion. While the broadcasters made several periodic announcements that the show was a fictional performance, many listeners believed that the events were actually happening. And as we walk this uneven path, there are more placards telling us as we approach the lake.
Now we're up to the October 30th broadcast. The broadcast was 1 hour long and consisted of multiple news bulletins which interrupted Ramon Raquello and his orchestra, playing smooth jazz. The skit involved on-the-scene reporters and scientific authorities who reported on the events occurring as the Martian capsule landed in Grover's Mill. The Martians attacked and destroyed the New Jersey State Militia, and then they attacked other cities throughout the country, including New York City. How dare they? The last portion of the broadcast was a monologue by Wells explaining that the Martians had been killed by a pathogen. To end the show, Wells went back to his normal persona and announced that the show was just a Halloween joke.
Some joke it was. He almost got in trouble. No, the FCC didn't like it. But then they went, But then they went, wait, he did say it was a joke.
Like,
I guess we can't get him in trouble. And he couldn't get in trouble. He did go on news the next day and apologize. I'm so sorry. And people say it might have been one of his greatest acting roles. And you might be saying, Orson Welles, that name sounds familiar. I don't know radio history. But if you know film history, you'll know Orson Welles from a movie called Citizen Kane. Won Best Picture. He was the best director and actor in it. Some people say Citizen Kane is one of the greatest movies of all time. So you should know who Orson Welles is. But now, go look up Citizen Kane if you don't. Watch that movie. And now quotes from that radio broadcast. The Grover's Mill reporter. Good heavens! Something's wriggling out of the shadows like a gray snake. Now it's another one and another. They look like tentacles to me. There I can see the thing's body. It's large as a bear, and it's glistening like wet leather. But that face, ladies and gentlemen, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to look. Also because I'm reading. Edit. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent. The mouth is a V-shape with saliva dripping from its rimless lips that seem to quiver and pulsate. They also have a Princeton professor describing the Martian weapon. For want of a better terms, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It's all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. So do you think they had cell phones back then, even if we didn't? The first block said we didn't have cell phones. Maybe they did. I don't know. Bolton stated, I have been requested by the governor of New Jersey to place the counties of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and east to Jamesburg under martial law. 4 companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Grover's Mill and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Imagine being in there waiting for the military to come. Oh, they're coming to evacuate us. International reaction. Approximately 6 million people are believed to have heard the broadcast, and there have been conflicting ideas about the number of people who actually panicked. Now, like Joy was saying at the coffee shop, a lot of people were listening to Chasen Sanborn. It was a radio show done by a ventriloquist. I'm still trying to picture a ventriloquist on radio, but that's another whole thing. But it was a very popular show. So people would have tuned in after that ended, as War of the Worlds already was broadcasting. So that's why they might not have heard the message and only heard we interrupt this program and Martians are attacking and all those good things, and really got scared. And we can see we actually have a cover of the front of the New York Times. Radio listeners in panic, taking war drama as fact. The front page of the New York Times on the following day had the story of the broadcast with the headline, Radio listeners in panic, taking war drama as fact. The story told of responses throughout the country, including thousands of persons called the police, newspapers, and radio stations here and in other cities in the United States and Canada seeking advice on protective measures. In Newark, a single block at Heaton Terrace, more than 20 families rushed out of their house with wet handkerchiefs and towels over their faces. In Indianapolis, a woman ran to a church screaming, New York destroyed! It's the end of the world! You might as well go home to die. I just heard it on the radio. Services were dismissed immediately. Legend has it that locally some residents opened fire on a water tower thinking it was a Martian. We just saw that water tower. And like we discussed, a lot of these newspapers sensationalized. They said this was fake radio and sensationalized it so people would come back to the newspaper. So some of their claims were very exaggerated, people said. But Orson Welles did go, apologized, like I said, on Halloween. But they also did say they didn't do anything wrong. FCC found out. It says, in the days following the broadcast, a public outcry arose, but the station maintained that listeners were reminded throughout the broadcast that it was only a performance. The Mercury Theater escaped punishment. The CBS had to promise never again to use the "we interrupted this program" format in fictional entertainment. But this is what we came for. The plaque. The town here embracing that radio broadcast. I am going to get closer to read it. I just have to be careful and go through this this Martian landscape and not get my feet wet.
This is what happened. They just sprayed the hose down just to like take out all the flames, and we got
Yeah, that's what it was. They were putting out the Martians'
flames.
heat rays. Martian landing site. I love it actually says Martian landing site, as if it was real. Some people might have thought it was real. I know my nanner did. October 30th, 1938, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. It's a great portrayal here, the monument. We have the spaceship landing, the heat rays being shot, Orson Welles actually doing his broadcast, and then the family here are looking concerned, listening to their radio. It says, on the evening of October 30th, 1938, Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater Group presented a dramatization of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds as adapted by Howard Koch. This was to become a landmark in broadcast history, provoking, continuing
Thought about media responsibility, social psychology, and civil defense. For a brief time, as many as 1 million people throughout the country believed that Martians had invaded the Earth, beginning with Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Can you prove they didn't? What happens if instead they actually look like us? What happens if we are the Martians? Do-do-do-do.
I'm out of here. Dedicated by the citizens of West Windsor on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the War of the Worlds broadcast, October 29th, 1988.
They were off by one day, but good enough.
You know, they wanted it up and ready for that day.
For the 50th?
Yep.
Strange real legend. Just sitting randomly in a park in West Windsor, New Jersey. A lot of roadside attractions are these massive things like muffler men to get you coming to a business, or stuff on the side of the highway making you stop, shop, see something. This is just a little monument. This is one of those cool roadside attractions that you have to know about. But if you do, it is worth checking out.
I also think it's really cute. Like, it's in a park, and the plaques are spaced a little bit apart, just so like you have to walk and then read and walk and then read. So you're getting your information while exercising.
Ooh, I like it because if you didn't know this, it's a cool little alien spaceship made out of car parts and recycled materials. There's a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
The building still exists, the water tower still exists, but there's no signs by them. You got to know what you're looking for. And there's this little trail in this park.
Oh yeah, by the way, that coffee shop, amazing.
Amazing. I wonder how many people in New Jersey come here to this town, maybe not even knowing that this happened.
I'm looking around because I'm like, I'm still more amazed that like we're seriously the only ones here.
Yeah. So come check it out. This is cool. Come to the coffee shop, take a little walk in the park, have yourself a sip of coffee and look at the monument. It's a good day. I liked it.
Oh, I'm doing what you said. Have a sip and looking at the monument.
Okay. But we did it.
We did.
We came, we saw the Martian landing site. We are standing in the town, in the unincorporated village of Grover's Mill, where Martians landed October 30th, 1938, per Orson Welles' radio broadcast. I think we could call it.
I think so.
Martian landing site. Been there, done that. Remember, folks, safe travels
Good eats.
and live life. Do you think the Martians landed on Earth because they were looking for their sled? Rosebud! I just have to say, that's one of the coolest Eagle projects I've ever heard of. I waterproofed a fence for a church. Yeah, they needed their fence waterproofed. And I'm glad I did it. But to do some science fiction history and make plaques in a town, that is awesome. I wish I was able to do something about Martians for my Eagle project. That kid, you did good. You did good. I just had to end on that because I just think it's awesome. What the? Ready? Now we get beamed up, right? To this mothership. Beam me up, Scotty.
As long as they have coffee.